twin suns burned above the dusty alien market. Strange smells filled the air, spicy food, metal, old oil. Crowds of aliens shouted, bargained, and laughed. But one small figure sat quietly at the edge of the crowd. She had no arms. Her skin was soft green, her eyes large and violet. Her clothes were torn, her hair tangled. She sat on a broken crate, legs pulled up, face hidden. A sign hung around her neck in alien letters. "Do not feed, cursed." Children pointed. "Look, the no-hands freak is watching again." One boy laughed. A group of them threw pebbles at her. She didn't move. "She's not real," a girl whispered. "No arms, no life. Just a broken thing." The girl didn't cry. She just looked at them, silent, lonely, tired. Far away, a tall man walked into the market. He was human. His skin was tan, his beard short, and his eyes full of quiet fire. He wore a simple jacket with a strange patch, an old Earth military symbol. His name was Dr. Ethan Vale. He wasn't a soldier anymore. Not since the war. He now traveled alone, helping people, fixing machines, and sometimes healing wounds. But nothing prepared him for what he saw that day. As he passed the crowd, his eyes caught the quiet girl. No arms, no movement. Just watching the world like she didn't belong. He stopped. "Who is she?" he asked a fruit vendor. The vendor scoffed. "That just garbage. She has no arms. Her family left her." "She's a joke," Ethan frowned. "Left her?" "Too weak," the vendor shrugged. "A cursed child. Her parents dumped her here last year. Now she just sits. Waiting to die, maybe." Ethan looked back at the girl. Her eyes met his. Something flickered there, fear and hope. He walked toward her slowly. The crowd noticed and grew quiet. What's he doing? Is he talking to her? Stupid human. Ethan knelt beside her crate. She didn't speak. He reached into his bag, pulled out a protein bar, unwrapped it, and placed it near her foot. She looked down, then gently picked it up using her toes. He smiled. "Smart way to use your feet." She looked at him with wide eyes, unsure. "What's your name?" Ethan asked softly. She didn't answer. But she lifted her foot and with her big toe started drawing in the dirt. 4 letters in alien script. K-A-A-R-I, Kari, Ethan said aloud. She blinked, surprised. No one had said her name in months. The crowd watched in silence. Some whispered, some laughed. "She won't speak," one man said. "Freak can't even cry." Ethan stood and faced them. "You all think she's nothing. But I see someone strong." The crowd laughed harder. One boy yelled, "Then take her with you, hero." Ethan looked back at Kari. Her eyes watered. She didn't want to hope, but she couldn't stop herself. He crouched again. "I'll come back tomorrow. If you want to talk, I'll listen. If you want to eat, I'll bring more." She stared at him, silent, but her eyes said everything. He nodded and walked away. Behind him, the laughter returned, but Kari didn't hear it this time. Her heart was beating faster. For the first time in years, someone had seen her. Not the freak, not the cursed one, just Kari. That night, Ethan sat in his small room above a junk repair shop. He took out an old notebook and began sketching something. Not machines. Not weapons, arms, mechanical arms, cliffhanger, end of part 1. As Kari curled up to sleep in the corner of the market, the sound of laughter still echoing in her ears, a strange feeling wrapped around her chest, warm and new, hope and far away. The human who saw her worth had just drawn the first design that could change her life forever. The next morning, the market was busy again. 2 suns rose high, lighting the dusty streets. Merchants shouted prices, children ran between stalls, and the smell of fried root cakes filled the air. Everyone was busy, except one girl. Kari sat in the same spot, her back straight, eyes scanning the crowd. Her stomach growled. Her mouth was dry, but she waited. She didn't know why. Maybe it was the way he looked at her. Maybe it was how he said her name like it mattered. Then she saw him. The human Dr. Ethan Vale walked through the crowd. His bag swung over his shoulder. He looked tired but focused. When his eyes found Kari, he smiled. He came straight to her and sat down on the ground right beside her crate. "Morning, Kari," he said gently. Kari didn't speak. She didn't even nod. But she moved slightly closer. Ethan opened his bag and pulled out a thermos. He poured warm soup into a small bowl. Then he laid out soft bread and a fork. He placed it all near her toes. Kari looked down, unsure. Slowly, she lifted her foot, dipped the bread into the soup and brought it to her mouth. She ate. Carefully. Slowly. Ethan didn't say much. He just watched her, respectful and quiet. After a while, Kari looked at him and raised her foot. With her toes, she began to draw in the dust again. This time she wrote, "Why?" Ethan leaned closer. "Why, what?" She wrote again. "Why, help me?" He sighed, eyes growing soft. "Because I know what it feels like to be thrown away." Kari tilted her head. "I lost someone once," Ethan said. "A little girl. My daughter. She had a disease. I couldn't save her. I was a doctor, but I failed." His voice cracked. He looked down. "Since then?" "I promised to never ignore someone in pain." "Not again." Kari watched him, her heart pounding. He looked up at her and smiled. "And you're not a freak. You're strong. You survived." For the first time, Kari's lips moved slightly, almost a smile. Just then, a voice shouted, "Hey, freak's got a new pet." Two young alien boys walked over, laughing. One had a bag of spoiled fruit. She likes humans now. Wants him to make her legs too? Ethan stood quickly. "Leave her alone." The taller boy threw a rotten fruit at Kari. Ethan caught it midair and crushed it in his hand. "I said leave." The boys paused, looked at each other, then backed away. One mumbled, "Stupid human." They disappeared into the crowd. Ethan turned back to Kari. "You okay?" She nodded, just a little. He smiled. "Good, listen. I've been thinking. What if I build you something? Something that helps you use your shoulders again?" Kari's eyes widened. "I'm not promising real arms," Ethan added, "but I can try. I've built machines before, drones, tools, medical braces, maybe. I can build arms." Kari stared at him. Then slowly, she reached forward, with her foot, and touched his hand. It was soft. "A thank you without words," Ethan nodded, his voice low. "Then it's a promise." That night, Ethan visited the city's scrapyard. He climbed over broken bots, rusted engines, and piles of junk. He found old servos, flexible wires, and plastic joints. He worked under the moonlight in silence. His hands moved with purpose. Every bolt, every wire, every joint, built with care. His mind pictured Kari's small frame, her shoulder sockets, her strength. He knew she would need balance, light weight, and easy control. It wouldn't be perfect, but it would be hers. Back in the market, Kari didn't sleep. She lay awake on her crate, staring at the stars. No one had ever offered her anything. Not food, not words, not kindness now. Someone offered her arms, not just tools, hope. Night settled over the alien city like a heavy blanket. The two suns were gone, leaving a cold silver glow from the smaller moon. In a quiet corner behind a junkyard full of broken robots and metal scraps, a small light flickered inside an old workshop. Inside, Dr. Ethan Vale worked alone. Sparks flew as he welded thin metal plates together. His hands were steady, eyes focused. Sweat rolled down his neck, but he didn't stop. On the table lay pieces of something special. Small motors, light frames, and half-built fingers. They weren't weapons. They were arms, Ethan whispered to himself. She's going to move again. She has to. He paused for a second, looking at a small picture taped to the wall, a photo of a smiling human girl with pigtails. His daughter, Lara, the girl he couldn't save. He touched the photo gently, voice shaking. "I couldn't save you, kiddo. But maybe I can save her." Outside, footsteps echoed softly. Kari stood in the doorway, hidden in the shadows. Her eyes glowed faintly violet as she peeked inside. She didn't want to disturb him, but curiosity pulled her closer. Ethan noticed her reflection in a metal panel and smiled. "You're early," he said without turning around. Kari froze. "How, you saw me?" she asked softly. "Your eyes shine in the dark," he said with a grin. Kind of hard to miss. Kari stepped inside slowly, using her feet to balance on the cold floor. You make for me?" she asked in broken words. "Yes," Ethan said simply. "For you." He lifted a small metal arm piece. It looked delicate, shaped like a real arm, but lighter. "It's not finished," he said. "I still need to connect the sensors and energy core." But soon, Kari walked closer, her eyes filled with something new. Wonder. She had never seen anything so beautiful. "Will it hurt?" she asked carefully. Ethan thought for a moment. "A little," he said honestly. but only for a short time. After that, you'll move again, Kari nodded. She didn't care about the pain. She had lived in pain her whole life. This was different. This was hope. Ethan motioned for her to sit on a stool. Let me take some measurements. She sat quietly while he measured her shoulders, upper back, and torso. His hands were gentle, professional. Kari watched him, her heart racing. No one had ever touched her with care. Not once. When Ethan finished, he leaned back and smiled. You're lighter than I thought, he said playfully. Kari blushed slightly, then giggled. The sound was soft but real. Ethan froze for a moment, surprised. You just laughed. She covered her mouth shyly with her shoulder. Maybe, she said. He smiled wider. Good, that sound, keep it. It's better than the noise this city makes. The two worked together for hours. Ethan showed her how wires carried energy, how small gears made fingers move. Kari listened closely, eyes shining with fascination. But outside, in the dark, something moved. Two alien workers, mechanics who lived nearby, were watching through a cracked window. One whispered, "The human's building something for the freak." The other snorted, "He's wasting time." But maybe someone will pay to stop him. They slipped away silently. Inside, Kari was testing a prototype strap Ethan had made to train her shoulders. It wasn't an arm yet, just a weighted harness to help her balance. She tried to lift it. Her body trembled. She almost fell. Ethan rushed forward. Easy, easy. But Kari shook her head. Again. He hesitated, then nodded. Okay, again, she tried once more. The harness lifted slightly, then fell back with a metallic clank. Her legs wobbled, but she didn't stop. Sweat rolled down her forehead. Finally, she gasped and dropped to her knees. Sorry, she whispered. Ethan knelt beside her. Don't say sorry. You just moved metal with no arms. That's incredible. Kari blinked, then looked down and smiled. For the first time, she felt proud. Ethan helped her back onto the stool. We'll make them stronger tomorrow, he said. One day you'll move them like real arms. Kari nodded. Promise? Ethan met her eyes. Promise. Hours later, when Kari returned to her sleeping place, she couldn't stop smiling. The stars above looked different tonight, closer, brighter, but far away in a large tower near the market, a message was being sent. A tall alien officer read the report from the two spies. A human building illegal prosthetics for a defective alien, he muttered. Interesting. We'll watch him closely. He closed the file with a cold grin. Let's see how long his kindness lasts. The market woke with loud voices and clattering carts. Kari sat in her usual place, legs folded under her. For the first time in her life, she felt a small light inside her chest. It was hope. She had a friend now, someone who believed in her. She watched the crowds. Some people glared. Some smiled like they always did, bitter and small. A few watched her more closely, curious. News moves fast in a market. Kindness is rarer than a fresh fruit. Ethan did not come in the morning. Kari's shoulders sank a little. She had learned to wait, but waiting still hurt. She worried he might be punished. She worried the city would stop him. Then at noon, she saw him coming with a small wrapped box. His steps were quick. He looked tired but excited. You brought it? She asked by writing with her toe in the dirt. Ethan sat and handed her the box. Not finished, he said. But a piece, a joint. It will help you bend the elbow. Kari opened the box with her toes, careful and slow. Inside was a small metal piece, smooth and warm from Ethan's hands. It looked like a hinge, the kind that lets things bend. She pressed it into her shoulder line where the strap had rubbed. It fit like a small tooth into a socket. She felt something click. Her heart jumped. Ethan smiled. Today we practice control. Tomorrow more parts. They worked a little while. Ethan showed her how to pull a cord with her foot to move a tiny gear. Kari tried. The gear turned, then stopped. She tried again. This time the gear moved farther. She gasped. Around them the market hummed, but the two were in their own small world. Kari laughed softly when the gear spun too fast and popped off, scattering tiny screws. A woman near them watched with a soft face. She came closer. She had a small child on her hip. You teach her? The woman asked Ethan in a low voice. Yes, Ethan said. She has courage. The woman nodded slowly. She has been alone long. You bring light. Ethan looked at Kari and felt warmer inside. The woman's soft voice was the first kind sound he had heard there besides his own. But not everyone liked the light. That evening, Ethan returned to the workshop to solder the new joint into a more stable frame. He left the door open slightly for fresh air, the little lamp inside glowing like a candle. Kari sat nearby on a broken tire, practicing bending her shoulders with the strap. She was tired but eager. Each small success lit her more. Thin shadows moved outside the open gate. The two mechanics who had peered through the window earlier returned. Their faces were hard now, their jaws tight. One held a small metal bar. The other tapped his fingers, waiting. Inside, Kari tried to lift the weighted strap again. Her legs shook. The world blurred around her. Suddenly a loud crash came from the workshop. Sparks flew. Ethan shouted something that cut through the night. Kari's heart pounded. She ran with her feet and body as fast as she could toward the light. When she entered, chaos filled the small room. A shelf had fallen. Tools lay scattered. The little lamp had toppled, its flame dying. Ethan stood in the middle, coughing from smoke. A dark figure slipped toward the rear door. "Stop!" Ethan shouted, but the figure was already moving. Kari saw the mechanics in the corner, clothes torn, faces mean. One had swung the metal bar at a small control box. Wires hung loose and the half-built arm lay broken on the table. "No," Kari screamed with a sound that came from deep in her chest. She had never shouted before. The voice surprised her and everyone else. One mechanic laughed, pointing at the broken arm parts. "We told you. Waste of time. Freak and human both fail." Ethan's face turned white. He rushed to the table, hands moving fast to save what he could. One small motor still worked, its light blinking weakly. Kari stepped forward. Her new harness strap was loose. Her legs burned. Rage and fear mixed inside her. She could not let them hurt him or the arms. She pushed past the mechanic and snatched a fallen metal piece with her toes. With surprising speed, she kicked the bar away. The mechanic stumbled, angry. Ethan grabbed a spare rod and stood in front of Kari. "Leave," he said low and hard. His voice held a warning. The mechanic spat at him and backed toward the doorway. They left with cruel laughs, but their eyes promised trouble. Ethan sank to a chair, breathing hard. He looked at Kari's small face, dark and bright at the same time. "You okay?" he asked. Kari nodded slowly. Tears pooled in her eyes. For the first time, her body shook with anger and relief. Ethan touched her shoulder gently. "You were brave." She looked up. "They break arms," he swallowed. "They might try again, or worse. We have to be careful." Kari clenched her toes around a loose screw like someone holding a secret. "I will protect you," she said simply. Ethan smiled, small and tired, and placed his hand gently on her head. The touch was human and real. Outside, the market seemed quieter. But the broken parts on the floor said something louder. Kind acts can wake anger. The city would not ignore a human who gave hope to a so-called freak. The sun rose behind thick gray clouds. The air felt heavy. Something was coming. Kari could feel it in her bones. Inside the small workshop, Ethan worked faster than ever. His hands were tired, but his eyes burned with focus. Last night's attack had damaged most of the parts, but the heart of the system, the energy core, was still working. Kari sat near the table. Her shoulders were wrapped in bandages. The new joints had been adjusted and rewired. The pain was real, sharp, but she didn't care. Today something would change. Ethan held up 2 pieces of metal. "These are yours," he said. Kari's breath caught. They didn't look like real arms. They were simple, light silver made of recycled plates and smooth gears. No fingers yet. But they had elbows. They had movement. They had purpose. Kari lowered her shoulders. "Now?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "Now." He helped her into a thick harness. It wrapped around her chest, resting across her back and shoulders. He locked the joints into place with a quiet click. Kari winced. The weight surprised her. Even though the arms were light, her small frame wasn't used to carrying anything. "Let me know if it hurts too much," Ethan said. Kari shook her head. "No, I want to move." Ethan smiled and tapped a small button behind her neck. The arms came alive. Quiet hum. Soft vibration. The arms lifted slightly on their own. Kari gasped. She didn't even try yet, but they moved. "You'll learn control step by step," Ethan said gently. "Think about moving forward. Just think." Kari closed her eyes. The arms moved forward. She opened them and cried out with joy. It listened. "It moved." Ethan laughed, stepping back to give her space. "Good girl." Now try again. Try to lift. Kari concentrated. The arms lifted slightly, shaky, uneven, but real. Her face lit up like fire. She swung one arm toward a wooden pole nearby. It missed, but just barely. She kept trying. Ethan kept guiding her, adjusting the sensors, helping her balance. After an hour, she could lift both arms and turn her wrists. The fingers were still missing, but even open clamps gave her power. Kari stood taller now. She wasn't sitting on crates anymore. She stood. Outside the shop, a shadow waited. An officer in gray armor watched from the alley. His name was Saron Valt, head of internal city control. His expression was cold. His orders were simple: observe the human. Report back. But as he watched Kari lift her new arms, something inside him twisted. He remembered his own daughter, lost to illness. He pushed the memory away and tapped his communicator. They're ready, he said. Later that day, Ethan and Kari returned to the market. She walked beside him, her arms hanging slightly, her steps firm, whispers spread fast. Is that her? Freak girl has arms now. A human made them? She's walking like a warrior. Kari didn't flinch. She didn't hide. She walked past the same stalls where kids once threw stones. She looked at them, not with anger, but with strength. One boy who had mocked her now stepped back in fear. Another girl looked at Kari with wide eyes and awe. Kari stopped near a water barrel. A fruit rolled off a nearby stall. She turned. One of her mechanical arms moved toward it. The claw grabbed it. Clumsy, but it worked. The crowd gasped. Some clapped. Some just stared. One older alien stepped forward. You give her arms? He asked Ethan. Ethan nodded. She deserves more than silence and stares. The old man looked at Kari. You are not cursed. You are chosen. Kari blinked. Her chest tightened. She didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. But not everyone was happy. Later in the council chamber, Officer Saron stood in front of the city elders. A human interferes in alien matters, he said. He builds illegal machines. He empowers a broken girl. This is dangerous. An elder leaned forward. And the people? They're watching. Some admire the girl. Some fear her. The room fell silent. Another elder whispered, hope spreads like fire. If others with defects ask for help, control will weaken. Saron nodded. Shall I arrest him? The room paused. Not yet, the elder said. Let the people grow curious. Then we act. When they love him most, we take him away. That night, Kari stood on the roof of the workshop. Her arms rested at her side. The stars blinked softly above. Ethan joined her. How do you feel? Kari didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, strong. For the first time. Ethan nodded. Good, but stay ready. Some will want to break what we build. Kari's eyes narrowed. She flexed one arm slowly. It moved like a bird's wing. Not perfect, but alive. She whispered, then I'll fight. The city was quiet at dawn. Strange, too quiet. Even the market, usually filled with shouting, smelled of silence. Inside the small workshop, Ethan poured hot tea into a metal cup. Kari sat nearby, stretching her new arms. The fingers were now working. Basic clamps, but able to hold a spoon, lift a cup, or even block a hit. She practiced every morning without fail. You're getting stronger, Ethan said with a proud smile. Kari looked up. Because of you, she replied. No, Ethan shook his head. Because of you. I only gave tools. You gave them purpose, Kari smiled, a little shy. Just then, a loud knock hit the door. 3 slow bangs, heavy, official. Ethan stood up slowly. Stay behind me, he said, voice low. Kari obeyed. He opened the door. 3 guards stood outside. Their armor was dark gray, marked with the city symbol. The one in front was taller, sharper. His name tag read, Saron Valt, Dr. Ethan Vale. Saron asked. Yes, you are ordered to come with us. Why? Ethan asked calmly. You have violated the Technology Boundary Act, building unauthorized prosthetics for a non-registered alien subject. Ethan's jaw tightened. She was dying in the streets. Not the point, Saron replied coldly. You don't belong here, human. Kari stepped forward. He helped me. No one else did. The second guard raised his weapon. Back down, freak. Kari didn't move. Saron gave her a long look. You can walk now. Use arms, that's good. But your voice doesn't change the law. Kari clenched her fists. The clamps groaned under pressure. Ethan stepped forward. Let me talk to the council. Just Saron grabbed his arm. Kari snapped. Her body moved without thinking. One arm swung fast, blocking Saron's grip. The other reached out, grabbing the guard's shoulder. "Let go," she shouted. The third guard raised his baton. "She's resisting." Kari kicked him in the chest. He stumbled backward. In seconds, chaos filled the tiny room. Ethan pulled Kari back. "Stop, don't fight them." But Kari's eyes burned. Her body shook. "They will take you. I won't let them." Saron raised his weapon. "You touch another guard, your arms will be torn apart." "We'll shut you down," Ethan shouted. "She's a child!" "She's a threat," Saron growled. Kari stepped forward. "Then I am one." The guards froze. No fear in her voice. Just steel. Then something unexpected happened. A small voice came from outside. "She's not a threat," a boy shouted. A young alien child stood behind the guards. "She saved my sister from falling in the river last week." More voices joined. "She carried my fruit cart when my wheels broke," a vendor said. "She repaired my machine." Someone else yelled. A crowd was forming. The market was awake. Guards looked around. Faces appeared in windows, on balconies, behind stalls. Saron cursed under his breath. He stepped back. "We'll return," he warned. With orders, he turned. The guards followed. Kari stood breathing heavily, arms buzzing from the tension. Ethan locked the door. "That was too close," he whispered. Kari turned to him, tears in her eyes. "They were going to take you. I know. I can't lose you," she said quietly. Ethan placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "You were brave. But we must be smart too." She nodded. Outside, the market crowd remained. Some clapped. Some watched in silence. A few even bowed their heads toward the workshop. Hope had taken root. That evening, a message appeared on a public wall. Painted in red letters, "She is not a freak, she is our future." The sky above the city turned red as evening fell. A dust storm rolled in from the mountains, quiet but fierce. In the workshop, lights flickered as Kari stood near the window, watching the wind swirl. Her arms were steady now. Strong. Controlled. She could lift, hold, carry, block, and even build small things. Her movements were sharp, clean, almost human. Ethan stood behind her, packing tools into a small metal box. His voice was soft. "They gave us one day." Kari turned. "What happens after?" "They'll take me," he said calmly. "Deportation. Maybe worse." Kari's hands curled into fists. "No, I'll go with you." Ethan smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "They don't want you gone, Kari. They want you silenced." She looked at the wall where the drawing of her first arm still hung. The one she had touched with her foot the night it was built. She whispered, "What if I talk to them?" Ethan raised an eyebrow. "The council?" "I'm not just a no-hands freak anymore," she said, eyes sharp. "I can speak now, and they'll hear me." Ethan looked at her with a mix of worry and pride. "They may not listen." Kari's voice didn't shake. "Then I'll make them." The next morning, the council chambers were full. Not just officials, citizens. Hundreds of aliens from all over the city had gathered. The rumor had spread like fire. The human is being taken. The girl will speak. The guards stood near the stage, weapons ready. Saron stood at the side, eyes cold, hands crossed behind his back. Kari entered wearing a simple gray robe. Her silver arms glinted in the light. She didn't hide them. Ethan followed slowly behind her. Gasps rose from the crowd. A few whispered her name. Others stared with wide, uncertain eyes. Kari stepped to the center of the room. Her voice was quiet but clear. "You called me broken," she said. "You laughed at me. You threw stones, left me alone to rot. No one spoke, but I lived," she continued. "And someone saw me not as a freak but as a person." She turned to Ethan. "He didn't ask for payment. He didn't need my name, he just helped." She faced the council again. "You fear what I've become. But I ask, what did I become?" She raised one of her arms and opened the claw slowly. "I became strong." She raised the other. "I became useful." She lifted both to the crowd. "I became visible." Silence. Then a small voice from the crowd. "She fixed my son's legs." Another, louder. "She saved my sister's life." More followed. "She gave my daughter hope. She made my shop work again. She's one of us." Saron stepped forward, shouting, "This is not about kindness. It's about order. Humans don't belong in our systems. This girl is a glitch in law." Kari faced him. "You say law. I say life. Which matters more?" Saron raised his weapon. "You don't get to decide." He aimed it at Ethan. In one sharp move, Kari stepped in front of the human. Her arms rose, blocking the weapon. A loud crack rang out. The force of the blast sent her back, but she didn't fall. Her left arm smoked but remained attached. The crowd screamed. Kari didn't move. I protect those who protect me. Ethan rushed to her. Are you okay? She nodded. Still standing, a tall councilwoman stood slowly. Her voice rang across the room. Enough. She looked at Seiron. Put the weapon down. He hesitated. The crowd turned toward him, slowly. He lowered it. The councilwoman looked at Kari. You have shown courage, girl. More than some of our own officers. More than even us. She stepped forward and reached toward Kari's hand. Kari extended her arm. They shook. Gasps echoed again, then applause, loud, growing. The councilwoman raised her hand. This human will not be taken. This girl will not be silenced. And from this day forward, anyone, human or alien, who lifts another with care, will be welcomed. The room exploded with cheers. Ethan looked down at Kari. You did it. Kari looked up, eyes wide, glowing with emotion. No, she whispered. We did it. The workshop had changed. No longer hidden. It was now open to all. Inside, Kari sat at a bench, teaching a child with a missing leg how to fit a prosthetic. Ethan stood nearby, adjusting tools and smiling gently. A large banner hung above the entrance. From broken to builder. Kari turned to the sky, her silver fingers reaching up, and for the first time in all her life, she touched the stars.